And welcome back to part 2 of dates and coins for Japan. Just as a quick overview, these are some of the monetary units used before Meiji. Um, in the top right here, we have the Wado Kaichin that were basically ripped off of early Chinese coinage. It can be kind of hard to tell some of the very early Japanese coins apart from similar Chinese coins. And they have this squared hole in the middle because they were actually cast rather than minted, and they would stack them on these square pegs and then use a file to shave off the edges, smooth them out. Um, and then back during Sengoku Jidai, the sort of warring states era with your shoguns and samurai and ninjas and kind of clans fighting each other. In the lead up to Emperor Meiji and the Meiji Restoration, that sort of unified Japan into a more modern country and unified the currency. It was regionally minted by the various clans, so it wasn't always transferable across lines. There were slight variances. And all of this stuff has no dates on it. Sometimes you can use those variances to determine which region it came from, or kind of like a range of dates, but there are no dates. There's, as far as I know, no way to tell what year specifically something came from. But we have the Mon, the Shu, and the Bu. The Shu and the Bu were, as you can see, stamped on it, Ichi Shu Gin and Ichi Bu Gin. Shu is the smaller one there, and Bu is the larger. We're basically thin, flat rectangles, but instead of paper, they are silver. Then we have the Koban and Oban, which were gold. Ko means small, and the O is large. And if you've ever seen the Maneki Neko, they're all over Japan, common folklore type of thing. The coin they are holding there is the Koban. It's a specific type of Koban, but basically it's a gold coin. And it's supposed to bring luck, especially to shops and stuff like that, bring in the money, things like that. And it even spawned the idiom Neko ni Koban, like a small gold coin to a cat. Sort of a pearls before swine type of thing. But and I don't know a ton about the earlier stuff, but just as a quick overview, this is some of the things you can see because they are generally different. I mean, they're some fairly strange compared to the modern currency there. Then moving into the Meiji era, they had a bimetallic gold and silver duodecimal system. So it had a yen that was either a big piece of silver or a small piece of gold. Then it had a fractional of that went down to 1/100th of a yen with the silver sen, and then they had the copper ren or bronze, depending on year and denomination. That went down to a tenth of a sen. So at the top we have the Ichirin coin, 1 ren, and you can see starting at the top going clockwise, Meiji 6 and Dai Nippon. The Dai part can mean big or large, but in this case it's kind of like large in stature or importance. So in context like this, it's often translated as the Great Japan, something like that. And you'll see that on older coins in Meiji era especially. Once we move into modern coinage, they change it slightly, which we'll get to in the modern era. Then originally, early on, they had the Han-sen, the 1/2 sen coin. Later on during the Taisho years, they changed that to 5 ren, which was the same face value. I'm not entirely sure why they changed that. But, and then if you'll notice on the obverse of the 1 ren coin and at the top of the reverse on the 1/2 sen coin, you'll see the little circular shape that is common on a lot of Meiji era coins. But that comes from the Imperial Seal of Japan, Kikukamon, as it's called. Kiku, chrysanthemum, ka is a flower. In this case, it's attached to Kiku, so it's the chrysanthemum flower specifically. And mon is like an emblem or almost like a family crest or coat of arms type of thing. So this is like an emblem that helps denote clans and things like that. But the Kiku symbol, if you've ever heard of the chrysanthemum throne of Japan, is specifically for the emperor. If you ever see a small one with kind of like a little wreath design around it, that's sometimes used by the crown prince or some of the other royalty, but that is specifically the emperor. And then on the reverse of the 5 ren coin here, we have the Kirimon. Kiri is Paulownia, which is also a fairly important flower in Japan. Those two, and of course the Sakura, the cherry blossoms. And it's got the 3-leaf design and a 575 pattern. Is the Prime Minister of Japan. There are 353 patterns that are used by lesser officials, but this one is specifically the Prime Minister there. Then moving on to the sen coins. Again, 10 ren to make one of these, and 100 sen to make a yen. They were issued in denominations of 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, and 50. Depending on years and denomination, I mean, they could be anywhere from 80% silver to, there was a 72% silver, or some of them are pure nickel or bronze. It's got a wide array of compositions. Not entirely sure why. I couldn't decide, I guess. But, 2 things to note when looking at sen, though. In the middle, you can see the shallow scales and deep scales, which some years, I'm not sure which years off the top of my head, you just have to look that up on Numista or something. But some years had the variety, where the scales kind of blend together a little better, or the deep scales where they're much more clearly defined. And again, if it gets a little worn, sometimes it can be hard to tell. And I don't know much about the value on these, but something worth noting. And the other variety you can sometimes find is the Type 1 or Type 2, sometimes referred to as connected Mei, because Mei, M-E-I, is the first kanji in Meiji. So these are all on Meiji era coins. And with Type 1, the final stroke of the first part of the kanji, the little V part at the bottom of the box, stops when it hits the right side of that first part. But in Type 2, it kind of curves upwards and into the second part. And I'm not sure if that's a die scratch or some kind of error or what, but worth noting that it's there. That is a variety. Then moving on to the old yen coins. These use the old-fashioned, sort of archaic yen kanji. You don't see that much in modern day. Most coins these days in common language will use the simplified form. And this kanji is read as en, just en in Japanese. The Western idea of yen with a hard Y comes from an early mistranslation. I believe it was Portuguese missionaries that went to Japan, brought Catholicism. They landed near Nagoya, which is why Nagoya has a Western style cathedral. Um, I believe it's even featured on one of the coin designs, commemorative type stuff. Um, but among the things they took from Japan back to the Western world was the word for the currency. But because it was spelled a certain way, it was translated as YEN, and the kana that caused that kind of fell out of favor. It was pronounced very closely to EN, and over time they just kind of merged so that they were basically the same letter anyways, kind of like a C and K situation. And they just decided we're going to drop this kana entirely. It's mostly obsolete. There's some rare instances where you might see it in historical context or whatever. But it's basically not used. It's just EN now. And with the 1 yen silver coins, it's worth noting that sometimes on the bottom left or bottom right, I believe one was the Tokyo mint and one was the Osaka mint, they would stamp a chop mark or into it for gin, silver. And once chop marked, these were used in, I believe they were used in occupied Taiwan back during the Sino-Japan Wars leading up to World War II. But at this point, they were demonetized in Japan. And so it's very common to see those with chop marks, but some of them do not have it. I'm not sure how that affects value either. But you definitely see more with the chop mark than without. Then on the 1 yen gold coins, they have the little dot at the bottom, and sometimes the dot is misaligned. I don't know if that's an error or if it was done intentionally, but it's called the high dot and low dot varieties. So again, something to note if you're ever buying small gold coins from another country. I actually really like this design with the rising sun in the middle, then the emperor's emblem above it, the prime minister's emblem below it, and then it's got the wreath and the two banners. You don't get much more Japan than that. And I like the older use of the yen kanji there on the obverse. Although with the higher denominations, you also have the dragon design, which is pretty cool. Then later on, towards the end of the gold yen's lifespan, they did simplify the reverse and just take the sort of flower outline with the sun in it and remove the banners. And then on the end, we just have the Japanese version of the trade dollar. If you're familiar with those, it's similar to the Chinese one, but the dragon's in a different pose. And those are very collectible, of course. Moving on to the modern yen, I was looking through a thread where people were discussing this, and it sounds like flipping a coin is not a big thing in Japan. They usually prefer janken, which is basically rock, paper, scissors, to determine their games of chance. But the Japan Mint has officially stated that the side with the images is heads, and the side with the Western style numbers is tails. And again, they've switched from Dai Nippon to Nihon Koku. So the two kanji there can be read as Nihon or Nippon. Depending on context, in most modern applications, it's going to be Nihon, like Nihon Terebi, which is just a big television station there. And the koku kanji means country or state, some kind of national political entity. So usually in this context, it's translated as State of Japan. And again, as mentioned in the last video, the writing will now go left to right. The mint sets in particular will always come with the 6 coins and some kind of token. I've seen bronze, and I think there was even a brass one. Some of them are silver. I don't know if there's any plastic ones or something like that. They usually some kind of metal at least. And they'll make mint sets for all kinds of stuff. Championship baseball teams, anime tie-ins. I've seen Hello Kitty. Then they'll do a lot of gear of the whatever animal for the Chinese zodiac stuff. But they seem to go for a pretty high markup. I don't know what they sell for from the mint itself directly, but trying to buy one on eBay can be pretty expensive. And this is a more generic set. It's just a Reiwa Ganin, so first year of the Reiwa era, 2019. But even this one seems to go for a pretty high premium. Ones that have tie-ins with other stuff can get pretty crazy. But then we have the small 1 yen 100% aluminum coin. And aside from the date on the back, this has not changed since its introduction in 1955 when the modern yen coin was introduced. It features like a bamboo sprout on the front and just a big one on the back. These will float on water using surface tension. And I haven't seen any videos of this. I haven't tested it myself. But if anybody wants an interesting video idea, supposedly these 1 yen coins will melt if you put them in a microwave. So that might be fun to try if you got an old microwave to tear up. The 5 yen coins are brass. They're often considered lucky in Japan. If you're donating at a shrine or stuff like that, you'll often do it in 5 yen coins. And I've heard the luck attributed to the hole in the coin before, but as far as I know, the hole was put there just to save on metal following World War II inflation, and it's just kind of stuck. But the design features the lines at the bottom, which are waves representing the sea and the fishing industry. Then the rice stalk for farming and just rice being important in Japan. And then the gear around the hole in the middle for the industrial side and manufacturing. Then the 10 yen coin is made of bronze. You can get some really nice toners out of this. There can be a premium on some of those. And the early years, 1951 to 58, had a reeded edge. Since 1959, they're all smooth edge. But the reeded ones do command a bit of a premium. I don't think it's a big one, but they do go for more than the smoothed edge ones. Especially the 58 year, which is a little bit of a key date. Probably not low enough mintage to be a key date, but it was definitely lower mintage because they knew they were switching the design heading into 59, and they did not mint a lot that year. And the back just features, I think it's the Byodoin Temple, which is very famous, like multi-denominational Buddhist temple, just outside of Kyoto. And some people have claimed that the engraver was actually supposed to engrave that, but the picture he was working on was from a different temple, so it might not be that specific temple on the back of the 10 yen coin, but they've never bothered to change the design, so they're going to roll with it anyways, apparently. The 50 yen coin started out as pure nickel, if you've got some of the older years, but now it's copper nickel. And it was originally a larger diameter and lacked a hole. And because of that and the fact that it had flowers on the back, it was easy to confuse with a 100 yen coin, so they reduced its diameter. They added the hole. But these feature the chrysanthemum flowers. The 100 yen coin features the cherry blossoms. And then, of course, you have the Paulownia flower on the 500 yen coin, the three big flowers of Japan. The 100 yen has several commemorative varieties. 1957 to 66 are 60% silver. Since then, it's been copper nickel. We'll take a look at those in a minute. And the 500 yen coins are an interesting case because they were a more recent addition, only coming into existence in 1982. They started as copper nickel, same as the 100 yen coins. And but since 2000, they went to a nickel brass and had to update the design to try to reduce counterfeiting. And supposedly in 2021, I don't know if this is being delayed by coronavirus or anything. I haven't heard an update on that, so I assume it's still going forward. But they're supposed to be coming out with another new design for the 500 yen coin, as well as updates on the 1,000, 5,000, and 10,000 yen notes. And there is a 2,000 yen note as well, but that's kind of like a $2 bill. It's legal tender. Some people use it, but it's kind of rare to see it actually circulating. So they're not updating, at least not yet, the design on that one. But and I don't know how true this is, but I've seen people claim online that the 500 yen coin was introduced because of the rise of vending machines, which didn't have the ability to take paper money at the time, and the 100 yen coins were considered too cumbersome to try to buy large quantities of stuff or certain expensive items. So they introduced the 500 yen coin to help deal with that. Vending machines are all over Japan, extremely popular. The two problems with this, though, among regularly circulating coins by face value, the 5 Swiss franc coin is your highest value at a little more than 5 US dollars, and the 500 yen coin is second at just under $5. This makes it worth a large amount for face value of a coin, a good target for counterfeiting. The second problem is, right about the time they were introducing the 500 yen coin in Japan, South Korea was introducing a 500 won coin, WON. And it had the same diameter and a very similar weight and the same face value of 500 units. But rather than almost $5, it was worth about 50 cents. Much lower on the exchange rate. And people in Japan figured out that you could get the 500 won coins very easily, rub it down a little bit or drill out a little hole in the middle, something to reduce the weight slightly. And then you were able to trick vending machines into thinking it was a 500 yen coin. And there was actually a large crime wave of counterfeit 500 yen coins, basically, being spent in vending machines, which is what led to the anti-counterfeit design, the change in composition, and so on, trying to combat that. And as I said, they're about to do it again. On the bottom here, we see the old 500 yen design, the updated one at the top there, and then on the right is the newer one, where not only will it be reeded, the amount of reeds and the angle of the reeding will change as you go around the coin. If you tilt it one way inside the 500, you can see kind of 500 yen written there, and if you tilt it the other way, you can see Japan. It also features micro writing along the 5 and on the back where it has Japan and the 500 yen along the rim. And as you can see, the coin there is dated with Reiwa Sannen, which would be 2021 next year, when it's supposed to release. I assume that's still on schedule. Then looking at some of the 100 yen coins here, we have the Showa 32 and 33, 57, 58 Phoenix design, where it's got the sun on the back and the Phoenix on the front there. These are pretty collectible. They were only minted for the 2 years, but had fairly high mintage numbers for those 2 years. But 60% silver, it's a neat design. People like it. It tends to go a good bit over melt value. Then from 34 to 41, they switched to the rice sheaf design. I kind of like the back, but there's no way that obverse is as good as the Phoenix. And then in Showa 39, the 1964 Olympics in Tokyo, they came out with a commemorative set. So it's got the double date for Showa 39 and the 1964. It's got the cauldron they lit with the Olympic rings on there. These are very collectible, with crossover appeal to people that collect Olympic designs and stuff like that. But Japan knew that people coming in to the Olympics and would want to keep these as souvenirs, take them back to their own country, stuff like that. So they were minted in very high numbers. The rice sheaf design was minted in 39 as well, and perhaps less interesting, but it was also a significantly lower mintage. It was by far the lowest mintage of these years. So I don't know that it's super rare, but it's rarest of these at least. And some of the 100 yen came in a set with the 1,000 yen coin. It was in like a little hard case, kind of like the Carson City Morgans you'll see occasionally. And the 1,000 yen coin is 31.1 grams, but it's 925 silver, so it's only sterling. But it's slightly larger and thicker than a US half dollar, the Benjis, as the cool kids call them these days. But it's very collectible. It tends to sell well over melt value as well. If you can find one for $20, it's probably a good deal. These are not that hard to find, but finding a reasonable deal on them can be hard. You've also got some good toners with these. Those go for a lot more. Because it's a pretty nice design with the sort of cherry blossoms along the bottom and Mount Fuji in the background. Plus you've got the Olympic rings. Very collectible. Then looking at some of the other stuff you might find in Japan. We have the Sapporo Olympics, also had a commemorative in the 1972 Winter Olympics, held in the island of Hokkaido to the north. Sapporo is the only major city there. This one's not silver and not quite as exciting, but still just an example of a commemorative. Then below that we have the Expo 75 Okinawa commemorative. The obverse features the gate on the main island of Okinawa. Very famous attraction, very popular with tourists, stuff like that, well known. And then kind of a stylized mystical waves type of design at the bottom. And then it's got almost like a little privy or mint mark type of thing, the little dolphins on it. Those are cute. Those are just some examples of the 100 yen commemoratives. There's definitely others out there, but don't have time or space to go over all of them here. And this is the slab here is actually mine. I didn't get it graded. I bought it pre-graded already. But I did create the Numista page for it, so I could list it on my silver collection there. But it is the 50th anniversary of the 1 yen aluminum coin. And the reverse has a Showa 30, which would be the 55, the first year of the 1 yen coin, and the 50th year, um, with 2005. But with the Heisei Junanen 17. And then at the top, Tanjo Gojunin, it's 50th anniversary, the celebration of the 50th birthday, sort of. And then it says silver at the bottom, and it's a little hard to see. But below that are two tiny little, like, hallmarks. The first one is the Hinomaru, which is what they call the flag of Japan. He is sun and Maru is round, so the round sun flag, I guess you'd call it, is a sort of literal translation. And then next to that is a diamond, which will generally have the fineness inside of it. And I believe this is 925 silver. If it's pure silver, you'll sometimes see Jungin stamped on it, which is the other hallmark listed there, the first one, which is just pure silver, purity and silver kanji. And again, kin is gold, gin is silver, and ginko is a bank. The first part, obviously silver. The second part supposedly uses sort of an archaic translation meaning of this kanji, referred to like a line of shops down the road or something. In modern parlance, this kanji can mean to go, so it's a place where your silver goes, is kind of the joke there, I guess. But that's bank. And then looking at some of the non-100 yen commemoratives, this first one is also one that I own. This is mine. Unibasaru Gino Gowa. Universal, is technique or skill or something like that. And Gowa is an Olympic or an Olympiad, something like that. It literally means 5 rings. And it's got the funky skills blob logo there and double rainbow colorized, kind of a neat design. I don't know what an international skills festival for all is, but it was held in Japan 2007, and it's an interesting commemorative. Came in a little orange box, don't know why, but I like the design there. And the one below it is one that I would like to get, but I haven't been able to find. I'm not sure what the mintage total for this is. I believe the skills came with a little booklet, kind of a laminated sheet that had the stats on it and said it was a mintage of 5,000. So I would guess probably somewhat similar for this one. But they're both 1 ounce silver with a colorized front. And this one is Shinkansen 50th anniversary of the bullet train. So it's got the train on the front with Mount Fuji in the back, and then the cherry blossoms kind of off to the side there. Very Japan as well. And the back looks like one of those holographic stickers, but supposedly it's just metal at slightly different angles, and it kind of reflects the light differently depending on how you bend it, and it gets kind of like a iridescent look to it, which is pretty neat. I would like to find one of these, but haven't been able to yet. And then, similar to the state quarters program, Japan had the Japan 47 Prefectures Coin Program, as the reverse helpfully states. Not sure it's the best idea to literally state what the program is on the coins there, but that's what they went for. And then the middle, which is a different color, it's bimetallic, is reminiscent of some of the earliest coins in Japan with a squared hole. And unlike 25-cent coin, this is but close to basically a $5 coin. So it's a little harder to store these in a collection if you're trying to complete the set. But aside from the date changing, these were spread out over multiple years. The reverse is common among all prefectures. And the obverse has Nihonkoku at the top, Gohyaku yen, 500 yen, the name of the prefecture, and some kind of design that was picked by the prefecture. You know, like the state quarters program, something relating to the prefecture. And I believe these were even released in the prefecture itself. So you would have to be in Aomori-ken to get the Aomori things from a bank in a roll or whatever. And the idea was you would have to travel to other prefectures, bring some of the Aomori-ken coins with you, and try to trade them for their coins to encourage travel between the prefectures. I don't know how well circulated they are or how likely you are to find those in boxes from prefectures other than your own. But just as an example, I picked this one. It's Fukui-ken, the prefecture of Fukui. And this there displays the Fukui raptor, which is a species of raptor discovered in Fukui-ken. But I just thought saying Fukui raptor was fun. It's a wide array of designs, but that's just to highlight one. They also had 1,000 yen versions of this, where the reverse was different, but shared between the all of the 1,000 yen varieties. And the reverse, or the obverse, was the same idea, but had a different design on it, so they could highlight something else, so on and so forth. But rather than a bimetallic 500 yen, it was a 1,000 yen proof silver 1 ounce with a colorized front. And these tend to go well over an ounce of silver. They are pretty hard to find for a reasonable price. I think 80 is kind of the low end of what they go for. And getting all 47 is too expensive for me, unfortunately, so I don't have any of those. But that's just some of the commemoratives. There's a lot of them. You just have to look up the others elsewhere. But that's just a quick overview of some of the things to look for with the Japanese modern coins.